Hello, bienvenue, welcome and willkommen to Ep008, the casting of pod in which our two down-on-their-luck heroes attempt to climb the ladder of social mobility using the rungs of inequity leaning against the wall of British classery. My name is Gaz Carr, and I am joined by a man who wouldn't look out of place in a lineup of hopefuls for the stage production of Hobbit and the Musical, Songs of the Shire, Dan Kaiser. Before we continue, I should say that we are going to be spoiling as rotten as the fruit from our local greengrocer all of the films which we are discussing. So, to help you out, we'll be putting all the names of any films even mentioned in the description of the podcast, so on your own head be it. Going to give you a second now to pause and go and watch 20 or so films. Pause. And continue. Previously on Ep008, we discussed our first 3 examples of films which have gathered a great deal of love and respect from either the adoring public, or the adoring box office, or even the adoring critics, and we just don't get why. So far in at number 5 from me, we had A Clockwork Orange. Dan's 5 was The Greatest Showman. Number 4 for me was Inception, and Dan chose Jordan Peele's Us for his number 4 pick. Quite some controversy at number 3 from both our picks, with me choosing The Big Lebowski and Dan hitting back hard with the epic Dune from Denis Villeneuve. So now it's time to complete this list with our part 2 of our Popular But Why podcast. So now, on to our number 2 picks. Hopefully, we can get through this with our friendship and bones intact. This may get physical. My number 2 is another sci-fi film. And the reason that I've got this on the list is because I should love it. Because I am a sci-fi nerd.
You are that kind of guy.
I love flying vehicles and killer robots, and let's face it, Blade Runner is full of flying vehicles.
It's got those in spades.
Killer robots.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You don't like Blade Runner.
I've tried really hard to like it.
It's that kind of thing of like, but you're a film fan. You're a film student.
You must love it.
You have to love Blade Runner.
It's got all these wonderful film noir elements. It's gothic. It's low-key lighting. There's a detective. You've got to love it if you love film.
Yeah, it's Ridley Scott.
It's Ridley
Scott.
Scott.
What are you talking about?
Do you know what? I'm going to say something really controversial.
Buckle up, everybody.
Ridley Scott, I think he's a bit overrated.
Oh,
I know.
Can't believe you're saying this.
No, I know. Yeah. Well,
maybe everyone's overrated.
Maybe. I think that he's done some fantastic films, and I think sort of the concept of those films at the time that they were created is the thing that's fantastic. But I'm not sure it's the films themselves.
Do you think Blade Runner doesn't hold up then as time has marched on?
I mean, I have watched it several times. Like many times.
Do you know what version you were watching?
Well, like, this is it.
What edit you were watching?
I've bought many versions of it. So I myself am part of the problem, because I just keep financing this film, like the different versions of this film. But I just don't. I want to love it. I want to love it so much. I love Edward James Olmos. He's fantastic. You know, the Bill Adama from the Battlestar Galactica remake. Fantastic actor. I love Harrison Ford, Han Solo, Indiana Jones. Who doesn't love a bit of Harrison Ford?
Yeah, bit of Rutger
Hauer. Now, his performance was really good, and I do love his, Tears in the Rain.
That speech,
Yeah, that speech. I've seen battleships on fire off the shoulder of Orion, or whatever it was he said. I can't remember. But it was a beautiful speech, and it's all about the fact that everything that he's learned, everything that he's experienced is going to be lost when he dies, and that's a tragedy. And I get that. Yeah, it's great. But there's just like some bits of it, like Daryl Hannah, I just don't get what she's doing with her domino mask makeup.
Yeah, I never understood her too much.
Yeah, I don't think I get it. Maybe I'm not clever enough for it. I don't know.
Do you think it's aiming itself at a certain intelligentsia, and
cleverer than me?
Yeah, and it takes itself
quite a lot of the population, really.
Takes itself too seriously.
I mean, it does take itself very seriously. Just doesn't do it for me. Does it do it for you?
I've enjoyed Blade Runner, but I think I have been somewhat conditioned into liking it because you're meant to.
You're a film fan. You like sci-fi.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've got to love Blade Runner.
So it's kind of the whole thing about this episode that we're doing now is that can you be conditioned into having to like something because you're meant to like it. It's speaking to your demographic. It's speaking to your interests. I do genuinely think it's a very well made,
I think
very well made film, and absolutely beautiful cinematography in parts. The speech in the rain from Rutger Hauer.
Oh yeah,
that looks incredible.
Yeah, I think that it's got some elements in it that are fantastic, and
I think it's got great set pieces. I think maybe as an overall film, it's got kind of, as a lot of films do, like ebbs and flows and like low moments where you start to like get lost a little bit.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's why you've got all these different versions with narration and stuff to keep the audience engaged. You know, do you have the narration version or not? Do you have the different cuts of it that have more explicit meanings in there? Because maybe something wasn't quite right with that film, at least from the filmmaker's point of view. Why would they put out 3 or 4 different cuts of it if they weren't happy with it?
Money.
Oh, you think it was just a money grab?
Well, no, I think that...
Do you think it's so beloved that people like you will buy every version of it?
Like it.
Trying to get on board with Blade Runner.
I think that there's an element of this from the studio's point of view, from the distributor's point of view, whoever makes the DVD's point of view. I think that they just see that they've got this classic film that they can keep milking a bit more money out of. But I do think that Ridley is also looking at it and trying to get his perfect version, because it was interfered with when it was originally released.
Okay.
You know, they put that whole studio voiceover thing on.
Yeah.
You know, I can't remember what other changes they had on there. Did they put a happy ending on, whereas it was meant to be a bit more ambiguous? Interesting thing to do with your favourite film. You know this? You must know this.
Go on.
Them driving off at the end. You know this?
No.
Okay, so the bit where you've got like a helicopter shot of a car driving off at the end, and it's Harrison Ford and Sean Young, Rachel. That is alternate takes or unused footage of them driving to the Overlook Hotel from Shining.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know
I believe.
I
think
know
that is.
this.
Please write in and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that's right.
You've got other little interesting factoids along the lines of they've tried to merge the Alien universe and the Blade Runner universe together. So
okay.
Yeah, so that there is different references in, I think in Alien. Was it in Aliens? Yeah, there's these references. I think you see them in text, references to the Tyrell Corporation who make the replicants, the androids, I prefer synthetic human myself, or synthetic person. So yeah, obviously Alien universe has
Wayland
got
Yutani.
Exactly, has got your synthetics in there, your androids, and so you can see how it kind of works.
Other fun facts about Blade Runner is that they've got in the landscape, I think that they have like one of the buildings is made out of like an upside down R2D2 model, I think.
Oh, okay.
One is sort of part of the Millennium Falcon, I think.
Yeah, but I mean that's another reason why I've got certain love for Blade Runner, is because of the work that went into the filmmaking, rather than the film itself.
So I have an appreciation for the film, but when I sit down and watch it, I go,
are you a bit bored?
I want to like it more.
Yeah.
I want to like it more.
Why am I not loving it? And I suppose that's what we're getting into, isn't it? We're not just saying these things are bad. We're wondering why we're not loving it in the way that we should.
Anyway, shall we move on to your number 2 pick?
So my number 2 pick, I think we're going to get this very quick through.
2 pick Shakur. It's the New Zealand rapper. Or you've heard of 2 pick Shakur.
So my number 2, I think that we won't spend too much time on this, just because it's Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, okay.
The direct sequel in story to the original.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? But it's also interesting because your 2 in a row there you've picked is another Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, is it really?
Did you not know that?
I certainly didn't remember.
Yeah, it's Denis Villeneuve.
Okay, so in the same way that I found Dune to drag on and not really tell me anything and was a bit dull, all of that rings true in 2049 as well. I went to it knowing that Blade Runner is a film that you're meant to like as a film lover, filmmaker, and then to go and watch this sequel, I don't know, I just didn't care. Ryan Gosling is supposed to be, he is a He's a replicant.
A replicant, yeah.
And we know this. There's no ambiguity about that.
Yeah,
he's a replicant who
replicant.
hunts replicants.
Cells interlinked.
But I didn't care about anything that he said or did.
I loved 2049.
You really liked it, I remember you liking it.
I thought it was fantastic.
Now then, I definitely had a little sleep in the cinema.
But you always do.
It. Yeah, and
you
so maybe it's
Didn't you have a little sleep in the cinema during Endgame?
No.
Infinity War.
You wash your mouth.
You've definitely slept in through a lot of films.
Oh yeah. I did my best sleeping in cinemas. But no, 2049 I couldn't get on board with.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great. Right from the beginning with the scene with him and Batista.
And Batista. I was just about to say, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that interaction, that moment. I enjoyed that kind of slow knowing that these characters are going to come to blows. Yeah. That Batista's character isn't going to come out very well at the end of this. But Ryan Gosling throughout, I just found him to be almost dead, and that was probably
he was quite stoic.
That's a choice. I'm playing this emotionless man.
He's a robot.
Creature.
Yeah. But he's not dead. I mean, you did see his emotions with his sort of artificial intelligence girlfriend, Ana de Armas.
Yeah. So, I mean, that particular scene is very, very good, and from a VFX point of view, of kind of like the overlay.
Oh, you're talking about the scene where they get the, I'm going to say prostitute in, played by, I think it's Jenna Malone.
Yeah, he brings a physical being in to be overlaid by the AI that he's in love with.
She's got, Mackenzie Davis, sorry, not Jenna Malone. She's got some kind of implants or something that allows her to sort of sync up. She's got some, not robotic implants, but some sort of tech implants that allows her to sync up with the AI in the room. So she can put the hologram over on top of her.
Apparently making that and the post effects of that was incredibly difficult and incredibly ambitious. And it does look great.
Really tough for Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, hard day on set.
Poor
choice of words.
Hard 2 days on set because he had to do it twice.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't care, and I felt like I was meant to care because it was a big deal.
I think
that there was a Blade Runner sequel.
The weakest part in it, I think, is someone who I'm actually starting to not really like very much in Hollywood. Not personally, but for his performances. Like, it's not like I'm cancelling him. I just don't think he's actually that good, or at least he keeps doing projects that show him up as not being great.
Who is this man?
Jared Leto.
Oh yeah,
it's just like in Suicide Squad, that was the worst Joker.
Yeah,
he's done this. He's done Morbius. It's just like, no, Jared, you need to find a winner, Jared. You need to pick a good one.
Jared needs a win.
He does.
I like the fact that Harrison Ford actually punched Ryan Gosling in the face during some of the stunt work.
Yeah, but that's because you hate Ryan Gosling.
He's too beautiful.
Yeah.
And must be stopped.
You heard about La La Land.
And I really like that. In retrospect, Ridley Scott is like, I should have done it. I'm annoyed that I passed on it. He thought he was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And now he looks back and he's like, I should have helmed that, and I should have been a part of it.
Yeah.
And maybe it would have been different and more enjoyable for me. But I don't think.
But maybe less enjoyable for me because, like I say, Ridley Scott. Like I sort of like look through his filmography, his body of work.
Yeah.
And there's not many that I go, do you know what? I love that film. The only one that I can think of that springs to mind is Gladiator.
Really?
I love that film.
Gladiator over...
Oh, and...
Over Alien, you would say. Yeah.
I'm not going to dignify that with a response.
Let's not.
And The Martian. I love The Martian.
Martian
is fantastic.
Yeah. It's no Alien.
No, it's not. It's better.
Oh, God. Viewers.
So, right, okay.
Listeners.
Alien was on my honourable mention. So, so we'll come to Alien after we finish this.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not looking forward to that.
No. It could get physical. Well, I appreciate that it might not be for everyone, that film. It is quite slow and ponderous, but I think it's beautifully shot, and I did really enjoy it.
I think it was pacing. Yeah.
However, I will say that I saw it in the cinema. I went out and bought a copy when it came out on Blu-ray, but I have not yet sat down to watch it.
Never inserted it in.
No, I've never slid it in.
No. For the best.
Yeah. Well, no, I'd like to watch it again, but maybe there's something inside me that's telling me that I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I did. But I think I did. But anyway, we'll find out.
Well, my apologies to Denis for ragging on him a bit too much there.
And Ridley Scott's not doing a Gladiator sequel. That's probably going to be terrible.
Yeah. That's a cash grab, I reckon.
So should we move on to my number one pick?
My
final pick. Now, I absolutely love this film right up until like the final act.
Okay.
And then I don't love it no more.
Oh.
I love it. It's really good. It's got a fantastic story. It's got fantastic characters. It's got fantastic actors playing these fantastic characters. And then the end kills it for me. And it's No Country for Old Men.
Ooh.
Another Coen Brothers. I'm
Coen
bit down on the Coen Brothers myself. I'm finding that I'm down onto a few directors. You're down on a few directors.
Yeah. Maybe they should be stopped.
Kubrick. It's already done. My beef with No Country for Old Men is that, like I say, it's a fantastic film, and then right at the end, like you're with the protagonist the whole time, and you want him to win. Josh Brolin, who you absolutely hated in Dune. You said that. It's on the record. You said it was a waste of space and he should quit acting.
He brought the whole project down.
Yeah. You said he should have been played by Keanu Reeves.
God, Keanu. I mean, could you imagine if you'd been in Dune, mate? It would have elevated it. I could have helped you out in some small way, fetched you a... It's always about getting a coffee for him, isn't it, really?
Yeah, well, I feel like I want to get him a coffee. You want him to give you $50,000.
I want that money.
Anyway, so Josh Brolin is the protagonist. He's playing Llewellyn Moss, and he's being chased by Anton Chigurh.
Is that Javier Bardem?
That's Javier Bardem.
Yeah.
And you've got Tommy Lee Jones in the mix as well as this fantastic sheriff. And it's all, it's so compelling. It's so good. And then right at the end, spoilers, kids, just out of nowhere, Josh Brolin's character gets killed. And can you remember what happens to Javier Bardem? There's a big fight in a house, and then he just sort of
he's injured, and he just essentially just walks away. It's like he walks away from the film.
Yeah, he walks away from the film. I think he sort of like stops at the side of the road. He's very injured. I think does he give a kid some money for a scooter or something like that, and then just goes, or a bike. He buys a bike off a kid.
Does he?
Yeah, he's like got a couple of $100.
Just seem to remember the cameras kind of like booming up and leaving the scene, and this malevolent evil character is allowed to just kind of go back off into the world. But
that's it, and Josh Brolin's dead, and I think he dies off screen as well. I don't think he's even
something about like you see his feet through a doorway or something like that.
And I'm just sort of like left confused. I'm like, is that him? Why would you do that? Why would you say
you're rooting for him, but he finds a load of money, doesn't he?
He finds a load of money
and like tries to keep it essentially.
Yeah, and there's like a
kind of knowing that he's doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a true hero.
He's an anti-hero, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's trying to be selfish. Yeah, and you've got Woody Harrelson in it, who's this fantastic like bounty hunter type character. They're all really fantastic performances. It's the end that ruins it for me. It's like I'm following Josh Brolin's character the whole time, and I'm rooting for him. And even if he'd have lost, that would have been okay if you'd have seen it. But you didn't really see it. It just happened off screen. You just find out that there's been
that he was beaten.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
So do you think it's like a subversion of expectation thing?
Yeah, I think so.
That they go for at the end, and
I think so. I think
that hurts your viewing of it.
Yeah. I think they're just it's a bit of a self gratification there in terms of filmmaking.
I think it's
self-gratificate off.
I think it's a great film with a great villain, a very memorable villain that will go down, in the annals of movie history as being this kind of ruthless evil monster.
In the what?
The annals.
The annals of
deep in the annals.
Deep in the annals of
annals.
In the colon of movie history.
In the Colon brothers of
new name.
So but for me that film is almost ruined from the outset by its sound design.
Okay.
I find it to be the mumbliest film
really
in the world. Funnily enough, the Javier Bardem's character, who's not a native English speaker, I understood everything he said. But Tommy Lee Jones and Josh Brolin.
Tommy Lee Jones is
so mumbling. I've come talk to you about the case, and I'm mumbling. absolutely. I was watching it going, I'm not getting this, especially Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones anecdote. Did you hear about him and Jim Carrey not liking each other very much?
Oh, on Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hated him.
Yeah. Did you hear how Jim Carrey got this confirmed?
Did he not just tell him to his face?
I think it was like a do after, like maybe like the premiere or something like that. He just like wandered over to him, leant over and whispered in his ears, I hate you. Adam Dunn here with a few addendums. So points numbers 1 and 2 about the film No Country for Old Men. Yes, we do find that Josh Brolin's character has died off screen. However, we do not just see his feet. Tommy Lee Jones has a good old stare at his whole dead body in a doorway. Point number 2, our character played by Javier Bardem does not buy the child's bike or scooter. He buys the child's shirt to wrap up his broken arm that was broken in a very unexplained car crash a few seconds before. Hopefully that will satisfy a few of you die-hard, though God knows why, No Country for Old Men fans. And on the second subject of Tommy Lee Jones's feelings about Jim Carrey, they were confirmed to Jim Carrey in a restaurant shortly before they were due to film a very big scene in the film Batman Forever. Tommy Lee Jones, shaking, leant into Jim Carrey's ear and said, I hate you. I really don't like you. Jim Carrey asked why, and he said, I cannot sanction your buffoonery. Lovely.
He called him a clown throughout, and just thought he was overacting, which is funny because
it's a
have you seen that? Have you seen him yourself in that film, Tommy Lee Jones? What the hell are you doing? I think it come down to the direction, but essentially he was told to be like the Joker, a jokery character.
Who was
Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face in that film? Yeah, he just there doesn't seem to be. He's supposed to be this split character. Of two different characters,
but there's
really.
No split in it.
And there's no split. There's just this wacky, overacted. Oh God!
But you can see why I was curious as to which character you meant, because the Riddler ain't exactly a shrinking violet.
No, exactly. They're both.
He could also be a jokery character.
Exactly. They both kind of are, and I think that's kind of the problem. They're both vying. Carey and Jones, Lee Jones.
Lee Jones, Jones or Lee Jones? Is
it,
Lee,
yeah, what's his surname?
What's his surname? I think it's Jones. It's got to be Tommy.
Tommy,
Lee.
middle name Lee.
Yeah.
Surname Jones.
Yeah, he needs to clarify Lee Harvey Oswald, and he's going to be a serial killer.
Yeah. I think they were essentially, both of those actors were given the same brief to be this kind of wacky bad guy, or they were trying to outdo each other.
Should we get back to the list? Because
No,
we've gone off on a tangent.
No, I'm enjoying this. Yeah, my main gripe with No Country is
the sound design.
Is the dialogue tracks. Josh Brolin talking to his wife, telling her about keeping the money and everything. I had to rewind. I had to turn it up. I had to strain my ear to hear what was going on.
So how do you feel about the soundtrack aside? How do you feel about the ending and the film? Do you love it? Because loads of people love this film.
I wouldn't say I love the film.
There's a guy at work.
It's not my favourite Coen brothers, certainly.
But there's a guy at work who this is his absolute favourite film, and he does not rate my opinion in any way at all because I'm not a fan.
Right. So,
but I can appreciate that this is a good film. I can appreciate that. I just hate the fucking ending.
I think there's something very interesting in
it's like The Mist.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hate the ending.
Something about the subverting of the expectations, especially when it comes to the end. I like the idea of the bad guy winning, and that essentially that evil sadly can't be stopped or quelled. It will continue out into the world. But I do agree with you that Brolin's character, there could have been more of a showdown. What a shame that you hate the Coen brothers so very, very much.
I don't hate the Coen brothers. I don't. I love True Grit.
Yeah, that was great.
And that's it.
Well done, Coen brothers. You did one thing very well.
One thing. No, True Grit was great, although I didn't particularly like the end of that one too much, but I did respect it.
Yeah, one of the Coen brothers edited Evil Dead, so they're
okay by you.
They're all right by you, all right in my book.
They produced.
Well, that one did. I think it was Joel.
I think I enjoyed the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Now there you go. I mean, we're going down another tangent. The actual Buster Scruggs elements of that anthology film is fantastic.
Yeah.
That kind of he's almost like a cartoon character. You know,
Yeah.
He's like a Bugs Bunny kind of character, and that might be completely intentional. I loved all of that, and then when we moved on to these other vignettes, they're okay, but bring back this wacky cowboy character again, please.
Yeah,
But,
I agree with you.
I really, really like it.
Shall we move on to your number one?
Okay, so my number one.
Now hold on, before we get into this,
Okay.
you've told me ahead of time that this is going to be controversial.
Yeah.
So I think I can predict what it is, Dan. But
I want you to predict.
I
Go on, then.
think you're going to say Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
I'm not going to say that.
You
No, I would.
twat.
If I was going to do that, I would. Yeah, I would take real glee in
Okay.
annoying you so much by
That's why I
attacking
thought
your
you picked it.
attacking your favorite franchise and attacking your favorite film within.
Hey, it's not my favorite franchise.
I think it might be.
No, McDonald's.
Well, they've done sterling work.
Absolutely.
No, this isn't even just a film.
Oh.
This is a universe.
What? Hold on. What?
This is Star Wars
Okay, so you don't
in general.
you don't get stop. I mean,
Oh, I get it. It's very simple.
I just had to look down because earlier today I went for a walk and I was wearing a Star Wars top that just said Star Wars on it, but I've not. I've changed after my walk.
And you think in a Usual Suspects kind of way, I just look at something.
Looked around the room and made it up. His name was Dave Bass Guitar, and he used to work on Radiator Avenue.
In their table division. It's that thing of, the main point of this episode is
What
that
the fuck?
I don't get what everyone else gets. I don't love this world and these characters in the same way that the rest of the world seems to, or at least, again, in our age and gender demographic, Star Wars, New Hope, and onwards is beloved. And and is a multi-billion-dollar franchise and has done, I believe, quite well.
They've done okay.
Yeah. What I really like in Star Wars, in the Star Wars films, in the whole canon, the iconography,
I think
the look of the world.
You've cheated here because you're not
Why?
picking one
No,
film.
I'm
You're
not.
picking like a whole
Yeah.
universe. That's not fair.
Sorry.
I could go like
That's
the
why I
Evil
saved
Dead
it.
universe.
Hey, back up.
Yeah.
That's why I saved it till last, because I knew it would raise some ire in you.
Raise some heckles. let me
Yeah,
tell you.
and amongst our listenership of
Yeah.
6 people, 1 in Belgium.
Hey, we had one in Rotterdam as well.
Wow, that could
One
be anywhere.
episode. I don't know who it was. It could be anywhere. Could be Liverpool.
Or Rome, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
God, that's a deep cuts for 90s music reference.
So yeah, I get why they're loved. I get why people
Okay, then why are you bringing it up? Fuck's sake.
because I
I'm
struggle with it.
swearing a lot today.
I know. Can you calm it the fuck down?
I'm
please?
sorry. Could you beep all my fucking cunting swear words, please?
I will accept that last one. So yeah, I just struggle with it. I know people like yourself, close friends of mine, unlike yourself, who are
Whoa!
yeah, take that.
I know you love Take That, but let's just leave music out of this, if you can call it music.
No. Yeah, people who grew up on and are still trying to grow up on Star Wars and love it and love the characters. I just never got invested.
I know
I think
you did.
maybe it just missed me somehow.
So I think that I, as I was growing up, absolutely loved Star Wars, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Loved them.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. And I think part of it is, like you say, it's the iconography, it's the starship design, it's the fact that it's a western in space.
It's a western with samurais in space.
It's an Arthurian, an Arthurian Merlin legend, a myth
With
legend
Obi-Wan
with
and
Obi-Wan
everything,
Kenobi
yeah.
and the swords, and there's destiny all in there, and it's also about family, because you got Darth Vader, the fishing version. Darth Vader.
I'm going to put my Darth Vaders on.
Everything about that original trilogy was so ingrained in my childhood. The toys, the soundtrack, just everything about it. And that VHS was worn out. I played it so many times. in my VHS machine. That's a video. That's for the kids out there. That's what you used to do before Netflix and streaming. With the new stuff, they're so watering it down. So the universe, for me, the Star Wars universe, is going downhill. I'm not liking it as much as I used to. But those original films, I love them. And I will slap you in your damn mouth if you say another word against them, Daniel.
Well, that's the
another
thing.
word.
I think a lot of people listening to this right now would completely agree with everything that you just said.
It's because I'm right.
Yeah. But I mean, I remember going and watching A New Hope when it had like a digital re-release at the cinema.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
97 or something.
And I also remember laying down on the cinema floor because I was a bit bored.
Yeah, so I'm going to let you into a little secret. I don't think I've admitted this to anyone, but I fairly recently...
Podcast exclusive.
There was a re-release of a director's cut which had been recently colour graded of Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Oh, yes.
So I went to see a double bill of this Star Trek The Motion Picture director's cut, recently colour graded, which I've seen a million times, and Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan, which I've seen a million times. Saw them in the big screen. Oh, and I was bored. Because I'd seen them so many times. I'd never seen them before on the big screen. I wanted to do it, but I was a little bit bored.
Oh, dear. That is...
It's quite a
I
confession.
think you've looked into your own soul there.
I have.
Yeah.
I looked into my own soul, and I came up wanting.
I mean, I tell you when...
A little bit bored. I still enjoyed some bits of it. I did. I don't want to...
I tell you when Star Wars did grab me, though.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are going to say, oh, you've just jumped on a bandwagon here. When The Mandalorian came out, separate stories away from your Skywalker saga.
So you know my friend who
because you don't have any real
I don't have any friend. My friend who does not rate anything I say about movies.
Oh, this person.
Because
friend is a strong word. You made him sound like kind of like an enemy at work.
You know my colleague, he hates The Mandalorian.
Because you said it was good.
No, I've said it's good. It said it's entertaining. The Mandalorian, as far as I'm concerned, is the A-Team or the Fugitive or the Incredible Hulk in space. It's a special person comes to town, solves a problem, moves on to the next town.
Yeah, it's more on that Western side, isn't it? Of like the hero with no name, the cowboy with no name. Kind of
Alias, Smith and Jones, they did it in the Western style, where they come into a town. There is a drug baron or something like that ruling the town. They fight the drug baron, solve the problem, and then piss off again.
Kind of Magnificent Seven style.
Yeah, exactly. And every episode of those TV shows, it was a new town each week and a new problem for him to fight. And off they go. The A-Team did it, with cabbage guns. Do you remember that? Because it was always non-lethal, so they created these cannons that fired cabbages in one episode. It's fantastic.
And I suppose to another extent, Littlest Hobo.
Absolutely, Littlest Hobo.
God, that song used to make me cry.
But he dislikes The Mandalorian for this, whereas I just go, yeah, but it's a tried and tested format. I've just listed off nearly half a dozen shows that do exactly the same format, and they went on for a long time, and that's why it works. But
I don't know what it was about that show. It pulled me in and it grabbed me. I think it's losing its charm a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
But I liked the origin of that. And again, I suppose I like that because it's that kind of tried and tested formula wrapped up in Star Wars, wrapped up in that kind of the Western tropes, but largely. Star Wars, I'm afraid, didn't. It's like I missed the bus.
Okay, I love those original films.
I know.
I always have. They're so good. Like particularly one of my favourite sort of scenes, but it's not a scene in movie history. It's the final act of Return of the Jedi when you've got the fight down on Endor with the Ewoks. A lot of people don't like the Ewoks. I don't mind.
I'm not a big fan of that.
But either way, you've got the fight down on Endor.
Did like the speeder bikes on that there. That was cool.
Yeah, it was good. And you've got the battle up in space with all the spaceships. For a long time they held the record for the most number of spaceships in a space battle with that special effects sequence. And you had the battle between Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and the Emperor in the Emperor's throne room. And it was this fantastic cutting between those three parallel actions all going on. And it was just a superb, like the music, John Williams' score was just so good. All right, I can appreciate how people don't really like Star Wars. Yeah, I can appreciate how people don't really like Star Wars sometimes. And I think that these days it has gotten far too watered down.
Yeah, and I think original Star Wars fans like yourself are seeing that and feeling that.
Do you know, it's an interesting thing, though, because like, I never particularly liked the prequels either. The prequels, I thought, had some interesting moments, some good moments, like particularly like...
Well, they were much maligned, weren't they? You know,
yeah,
people weren't happy.
But then there's bits like the Phantom Menace, the fight with Darth Maul, with Obi-Wan Kenobi and
quite
Qui-Gon.
iconic, yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
And again, like when we talk about iconography, Darth Maul's look, the makeup, the face, the colouring of his being, loved it. The double-edged
double-bladed lightsaber, yeah,
love it.
Yeah, that
in the look, but I don't.
That was fantastic.
But I'm not like.
No, I never rated those films.
It.
But do you know what? There are a bunch of kids these days, or a bunch of 20-something-year-olds, and that's
kids.
Their Star Wars.
Yeah.
They love those films because they're their Star Wars.
Yeah,
I have never let my children watch those films, and they're coming to an age now where I can't stop them. They can
because Metachlorians in your houses as well, Ed.
That was it. They started to try and, like, George Lucas started to try and put science to a mythology, and it just didn't work. It's a bit like, you know, Indiana Jones and it being aliens. It's like, no, this is myths.
No, it's meant to be space magic, not...
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's space magic. You don't need to try and explain the space magic. But anyway, I get it. I get that you don't like it.
Yeah, and I'm asking for no one to agree with me. This is a weird personal thing in me.
I think it's a real shame that this is the end of the podcast and we won't do any more episodes everyone. After this.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, this will be it. They're going to send the bailiffs around and take our stuff away.
And The Shining is shit. Anyway.
Whoa.
Shall we move on from there to our honourable mentions?
I think we should. We should wash the bad taste of my hatred for Star Wars. I don't hate it.
Your very personal betrayal.
I don't hate it at all. I tell you what it was. I never had any Star Wars toys. Maybe if I had, I would have dug it a bit more.
So I think you've got a list of like 2 or 3 honourable mentions, and I've got about 6 or 7. So
bloody hell.
Should we rattle through yours and then rattle through
machine gun style? Let's go. No, you go first.
Okay. Well, number 1 on my honourable mentions is Frozen. What the fuck's all that about?
I don't think that film's for you.
No, I don't think
it was aimed at you.
I'll tell you why I say what the fuck was that about. Because Tangled is way better.
That's a really good point.
Tangled is a fantastic, entertaining film. They came out, you know, not back to back, but I think it was Tangled then Frozen. And the only thing that the Frozen has got that Tangled hasn't got is that song. And that's it. Tangled's got a way better story, way better characters.
It's got some good songs.
It has got some good songs. It just doesn't have that catchy one. Let it go.
Yeah. How old were your children when Frozen came out? How many times was it played in your house?
Not that many, because I would make them watch Tangled instead, because it's a better film.
Okay.
So the 2-year-old appreciated the narrative structure of Tangled better.
Frozen was played back to back in my house quite a lot.
Was it really?
And there were different toys and dolls that would also have the song like built into their very fabric.
They're very cool.
And you'd press a button and you get a little blast of Elsa.
Yeah, we had some of those. I suspect that we might have gotten Ophelia like a Frozen toy. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you could be at fault here.
I'll tell you something about Tangled. We when we got our first 3D TV, which must have been around, I don't know.
You're now redundant 3D television.
Yeah, I know. I loved 3D. Anyway.
Yeah, that summer of 3D was pretty good.
I loved 3D. It was great. Some films were crap in 3D, but some were absolutely fantastic. When we got our first 3D TV, the only DVD that we had in the house, or the only Blu-ray that we had in the house that had 3D, was Tangled. So me and my kid's godfather sat down one evening and should we put a couple of minutes of this on just test out the 3D? Yeah, let's do that. 2 hours later.
That was a banger.
2 grown men, no crying. Children in sight. Mother knows best.
It's got good songs.
It's got great songs.
You're right, it is better than Frozen.
It's way better than Frozen. Yeah.
But that must be a damn catchy song, that Let It Go, because it's still everywhere, I would say.
Yeah. So anyway, should we move on to my next honourable mention, or do you want to do one?
I'll do one.
You do one.
I've got nothing.
I can throw you some of mine if you
might have to. I've got nothing.
Why don't you take The Shining?
I'm all right, thank you. So I suppose very, very quickly, the Lego Movie 2.
Oh, okay.
Only because it's a bit like what I was saying about Jordan Peele. The first film is fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
And maybe everything really is awesome. But when number 2 comes around, and it's like a bit of it's got like a psychological character study kind of thing going on. Have you not watched it?
No.
Just a lot of what makes the first film great isn't there in the sequel. The second film, it just...
Yeah, I think it's a hard act to follow.
It isn't. Yeah, it's a hard act to follow. I think that's exactly it. It's kind of like you make something that is absolutely solid, and then you need to cash in on it with this sequel.
Do you know what? I'm going to go down the line of what I heard somebody say about the difference between Everything Everywhere All at Once and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
They made Everything Everywhere All at Once because they had a story to tell that involved multiverses, and they wanted to tell this story. They made Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness because they had a release date for Doctor Strange 2.
They were contractually obliged.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that.
It.
Lego 2, they just had to make it.
Yeah, when they signed up Chris Pratt and others, they were like, this is a multi-movie deal, mate.
Shall I move on?
Please.
My next honourable mention, Avatar.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, it's not that so anyone that I speak to about this film goes, yeah, it was all right. It was beautiful. But the story was crap. The story was Pocahontas, Fern Gully, Last of the Mohicans, Dances with Wolves. It was, it was all of those films. Maybe not Last of the Mohicans. So
do you think it's beloved then?
No. This is the thing, is that I don't think it's beloved, but I think it's broken records in terms of how much money it's made.
Yeah.
This is the bit that I don't understand, is that everyone I speak to...
The whole world went out to watch it.
Yeah.
And
so
no one really dug it.
I kind of get it with the first one, because it was... so beautiful. It was also 3D. It was made for 3D, and it was spectacular in 3D.
The 3D boom.
And they made a lot of money. There was actually a price hike on the 3D cinema tickets, and you could really only go and see it in 3D like 5 times a day.
Yeah.
So I could kind of see why the first one made so much money, like nearly 3 billion or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But the second one, if you talk to anyone about the first one, you can maybe pick up 1 or 2 character names.
Yeah.
You just don't... It's not that... Like, the characters aren't that memorable. Jake Sully. Grace is...
Was that Sigourney Weaver?
But you had to check there, didn't you? And I can't remember what the Colonel's name is, but Colonel Bad Guy.
Angry Bad Colonel Soldier Boy. I can't remember
what Zoe Saldana's character's called.
Blue Girl.
One
of the Navi. Yeah, who knows?
Navu. You see? Oh,
Navu?
no.
Navi are the creatures.
I think it was
the blue
Navu.
people.
Navu the planet? Where's Navu?
Don't know. You might be having a stroke.
Might be. But yeah, so I don't understand why the sequel really has made so much money, I suppose. I just don't understand why it seems to be
why this universe of films, this franchise of films it's all James Cameron cares about.
Yeah, well, this is it. The first one came out in about 2009, I think. And it's been 13 years between films about that.
Yeah.
And
because they're developing the technology to make the next film. Yeah.
In that time, there's been 4 sequels in various stages of production and pre-production.
Yeah.
So they've got Avatar 2, which has now come out.
Yeah.
Avatar 3 is on its way because it was sort of a part 1 and 2. But Avatar 4 and 5 are also...
It's meant to be 5 films, isn't it?
In the works.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so maybe they've just sort of taken the Harry Potter model and gone, it's going to be this many films.
Yeah, do you think it's another one of these, a bit like when you asked the question about George Lucas and did he have all of this plotted out, or this story from the beginning? Is that what Cameron's done? Is he kind of I've got this huge overarching storyline, and it can only be told in
written
5
in the back
films.
Of a fag packet.
Yeah, that are 2 hours long.
Maybe.
And that people kind of go, yeah, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Absolutely.
What's your next one?
Okay, so the one that I'll put in here, and this will be the last one from me, and it's more just that I've got umbrage with it, really, but is the film Death Proof.
Ah, Tarantino.
So Tarantino, it's kind of like, Tarantino's it's always, whenever we talk about Tarantino films, we're kind of like, oh, it's Tarantino's 6th film. Like that's,
he always said that he was only going to make 9.
And then he was going to quit.
And he predicted this at the beginning of his career.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Because he's an egomaniac.
Because, yeah.
So for me, this one doesn't even feel like a Tarantino film, and it certainly doesn't feel like one of his 9 and quit films. The reason that I don't get it, or that the problem that I have with it is that it's the same story elements twice.
Yeah. So I think, I could be wrong on this, but I think that he made the first half where all the girls are killed at the end.
Yeah.
And then
Kurt Russell's got this car that he
the
can
supercar, stunt car Mike, is it?
Yeah,
is
that he can drive, and he can crash it, and whoever only he as the driver survives it.
Yeah.
Anyone else in the car would die, but he would survive.
Yeah.
And so he's a maniac, and he tricks people into getting into his car so that he can crash the car.
And then doesn't he drive over the car of the girls and just destroy their car as well?
And it explodes, maybe.
But
he's
kills
okay.
them.
Yeah.
But he's okay. There's the bit in the coffee shop at the beginning where the girls are all sitting around talking a la Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
And it's just like Tarantino is sort of trying to feel as relevant as he was during his early career.
It's like he's nudging you and going, like, do you remember this?
Do you remember, I can still do this. I still got it.
People think I call myself like the king of dialogue, and I'm going to hit you with it again.
I don't get that. And I think that they made the first half for Grindhouse.
I was going to say, I don't know if it's relevant to mention that this was part of the
wasn't
Grindhouse release
so they did
with
Planet
this
Terror.
and Planet Terror.
Robert Rodriguez
and
did
they were
Planet
meant to
Terror.
come out as this double bill, and I think that happened in America. Didn't happen over here.
Did it not happen over here?
They split the two films.
But I think that first half was the film, and then I think he went back and filmed the other half of the film to make it a complete film, because it was only a half a film for the planet.
Well, that's my problem. Is that's what it feels like?
And then they, like you say, they go back and do exactly the same thing again. But I think, does Stuntman Mike die?
Yeah, he essentially picks the wrong group of women to prey on, and they beat him.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Just
didn't care.
Don't care. Don't like
it.
it. I think we can happily move on, because
let's move on to whatever
I think
want to say next.
A lot of people don't like that film.
Yeah, so I don't think we're really talking about a popular. I don't know. Tarantino fans will probably defend it. Maybe it's not at the top of the list.
Our friend Dee, shout out Dee. He loves that film.
Does he?
I think it's like his favourite Tarantino film. Correct me if I'm wrong when you see me, Dee, which you will. But yeah, I think he absolutely loves that film. But he's the only person I've met who loves that film.
Wow.
But I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've got one more in the barrel, yeah?
No, I've got a couple more in the barrel.
You what?
I know. Well, one film, this is just because I haven't seen it very much. I saw it once a long time ago. I didn't really get it. The Shining.
Oh, man.
I know. Well, you did Star Wars, you fucker.
I did, yeah. I took down a whole franchise. That's it.
You didn't take it down.
I did. I finished it off.
You did not take it down.
After this podcast is released, mate.
You couldn't take your own pants down.
That's what you're here for.
Exactly.
So The Shining.
The Shining, I don't know. Yeah, I know you love it. I
do, but I also understand what you're saying.
At the end of it is just a bit, what? Because like he's chasing someone around a maze or something with an axe, I think, in the frozen, and then it cuts to him frozen to death in the morning. Oh, okay. Well, that's that finished then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Apparently, in the book is very different.
Yeah, we talked about it before, but
it's
certainly more explosive.
Yeah. Well, anyway, moving on to my next one.
The only thing I would say is that it's not in defence.
Okay.
It's not in defence. Did you know that Kubrick was nominated for a Razzie?
Oh, really?
For The Shining.
Oh, really?
As worst director.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Other one, I guess I don't get so much, but is really popular, is Goodfellas. I've watched it a couple of times. I sort of enjoy
Going
it.
after the big dogs.
So, yeah.
Kubrick, Scorsese.
Yeah, absolutely. I can take him down. I mean, I kind of appreciate Goodfellas, but maybe it's just not for me. I don't know. Do you like Goodfellas?
I do. I like most of Scorsese's work, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you appreciate
that. As I think most people do.
And, just ending on another Ridley Scott one is Alien.
Now you and me are going to have like some kind of falling out.
I love Aliens.
What are you talking about?
I also love Alien 3. Just Alien, I sort of, it's a bit like what you said about Big Lebowski. It's like, I love elements of it.
Yeah,
there are elements of it that are fantastic. I love the alien itself, the xenomorph.
Yeah.
I love the little alien that the chest burster, and although I always think these days of the bit at the end of Spaceballs, where it
hello my baby, hello my darling, hello my red tiger.
Yeah, love it. I love the whole design of the ship and everything. This industrial
you like the
pipe work everywhere. Yeah, and I love the the alien ship and the alien, like the alien eggs and the way the eggs open up and everything.
There's a lot of love.
Love all the design and stuff. I just find the film too slow.
Right.
It's so very slow. And I think Ridley Scott even agreed.
He agrees with you.
Well, I think he did, because a director's cut was brought out that was shorter than the theatrical cut.
Okay.
Now, when does that ever happen?
Yeah.
He'd cut material out.
He tightened it up.
And added extra bits in. You know, so he added more material in, but cut some stuff out. And I've watched that, and I do prefer it.
Do you want to know the bit in Alien that I don't like?
Yeah, go on.
So Ash, so spoiler town. Ash is one of the crew members. The doctor
robot
is revealed to be a doctor, an android, and
is he a doctor?
He's a doctor, isn't he?
I thought he was like maybe like the science officer.
Science. No, you're right. It's a science officer, but yeah, he's got like a medical bent to him, and he's
medical
gone.
What?
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone mental. He's sent there by the corporation to kind of sabotage the mission and capture the xenomorph. Crew are expendable. And when he starts attacking Ripley, he tries to kill Ripley by rolling up a magazine and putting it in her mouth. Yeah. With her nose still able to draw in oxygen, I believe. Yeah. He may cover her nose with his hands, but it's weird. The magazine thing's weird.
He's got superhuman strength, so why not just
break her neck?
Yeah, break her neck,
punch through her chest,
just
whatever.
So many options.
Yeah. The magazine thing was really weird. It kind of feels improvised, on the set. It kind of feels there was a bit of that.
It kind of feels like violating and quite dark, and I think that's probably what they were going for.
Yeah, but it's he has his block knocked off. He has his head ripped off in that altercation.
If you're going to say the bit that you don't like, I think it's the bit that I like.
Okay. The bit that I don't like is that you have this jump cut from his head on the table, which is a prop, obviously, and then it jumps to Ian Holmes' real head and performance. But it's the editing. You could have gone from the prop on the table, cut to the crew, back to him, and it's the actor.
Yeah, you're right. It's the jump cut. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I get that, because I quite like that.
It's the magic trick of going from the prop to...
His head is rolling over a little bit, and they have to set it up like twice to get it to stay there.
Yeah.
And yes, you're right. There is a jump cut there. If there'd been two different angles, then yeah. Or it's like you say, just cut away for a second.
It's so...
It feels like
stupid. It's so lazy.
It feels like they just didn't think of anything to shoot anything between those two shots.
I don't know. There has to be a reaction shot in the rushes of anyone. Cut to Jones the cat.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, it's 100% perfect film.
It's not. It's got some amazing bits, and it's started a fantastic franchise that went downhill really quick after the first three films.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people.
Was a mistake.
A lot of people really only like 1 and 2.
It's true.
But I love 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that we've
shit on enough films.
I'm going to give you one. Like what? We do an opposites, so I'm going to give you one that I love that a lot of people don't like.
Okay.
So yeah, which is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
you're wrong on that
especially the extended cut, because it really fleshes it out. A lot of people hate the Martha thing, but I sort of got that. I didn't. It.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing that in the cinema and people laughing. I did understand it.
It worked for me. It
didn't bother me. Yeah. It was the overall portrayal of Batman, Snyder's Batman, I suppose, I don't like, and I didn't like the fact that Superman and Batman meet as enemies. For them to fight is meant to be very difficult for them because they have been friends, colleagues. For so very, very long.
In the world of multiverse, you've got loads of different versions, and this was taking a lot.
This is just a different take.
Yeah, this was taking a lot from the Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's stuff. You took an awful lot of character design, an awful lot of that fight came from the Dark Knight Returns, where Batman and Superman, and an awful lot of the fact that Batman has been doing this for 20 years. Yeah,
I suppose that's another problem, is that we had to jump into that. Yeah, had to jump into that time in Batman's life.
It does have problems, this film, but I still love it. I think the aesthetic, I think the music, I love the music, and I think that much as I was incredibly skeptical about whether or not Ben Affleck could pull off Batman. I
they were.
thought he was really good.
I don't have a problem with
And as Bruce
Affleck
Wayne.
at all. Yeah, it was just that version of Batman doesn't sit well with me because he's a flagrant killer. But then we've said this before. So was Keaton's Batman.
Keaton's Batman.
And no one gives him any grief.
To death.
Yeah,
I know. Well, this
he put dynamite in a man's pants and then walked away like a cool guy as he exploded.
People gave Man of Steel grief because Superman breaks Zod's neck at the end of Man of Steel.
Yeah.
But in Superman 2, the original Superman 2, Superman stands in the Fortress of Solitude and depowers all the Kryptonians, so they have no powers left. Non tries to fly, and he falls down to an icy grave. Lois Lane smacks Ursa, and she falls down to an icy grave. Superman crushes Zod's hand, his now human hand, picks him up, throws him against a wall where he slides down to an icy grave. He could have put him in a prison. But he thought, nah, fuck it. Do you know what? Yes, I've got so much to do today. I've got laundry. I've got to wash my capes. I've got to cook for Lois. It's a busy day. I'll just kill him instead. No one gives him any grief for that. Zod at least had his powers in Man of Steel, and he was doing it to protect humanity. But in Superman 2, he was completely powerless. He just executed him. On that note, we done?
I think we're totally done.
I think we're done. So thank you very much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed our first negative podcast because everything
we'll do it again. I mean, how do you feel? I feel kind of dirty.
I feel a little dirty. Everything we've done so far has been on the positive side of things, and this one we've taken.
We're a pair of happy chappies.
Yeah, we've slid into the dark side in this one.
Yep, tickled the dark side's G-spot.
Yep. So, thank you very much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed listening as much as we've enjoyed making it. Please remember to tell all your friends about this because the only way that we're going to carry on doing this is if we get people to listen to us. Otherwise, we might as well just talk to ourselves. If you want to get in contact with us and talk about any of the things that we have said, if you want to correct us because we know that we talk bullshit a lot of the time, you can email us at matesratepod@gmail.com. So that's matesratepod@gmail.com.
We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to read out your emails on future episodes.
Apparently Dan can read now.
When I said we, it was like the royal we.
I see.
We'll be getting you to do that.
Okay. Thank you to everyone for listening. Please do like, share and subscribe.
God.
Sorry, Kevin the teenager over there.
Bloody hell.
It's so important to us that you do pass this on to as many people as possible so that we can get more than one listener in Belgium. That's our goal, people.
I want 5 Belgians.
5 Belgians. So from me, Gaz Carr, and him...
I'm Dan Kaiser. My God, I love you so much.
Thank you very much. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye into the pit. What's the collective noun for a group of Belgians? Is it a Poirot?
I think it is.
It's a Poirot of Belgians.
Mm.
God. Spread the word, Belgian friend.